but I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm functioning.
How you doing? Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
How are we feeling today? I hope that you're feeling as good as I am, hopefully, and if not, recovering. I want to welcome you to our community Unitarian Universalist Congregation at White Plains. My name is Karina Abar Jacobs, and I have been a member for the last 4 months, I believe, alongside my wonderful husband and son, Chris and Lucas. Please wave your hand. Would members, friends, and anyone who wishes to, please join me in reading our congregation's mission statement, which is in the order of service. We covenant to nurture each other in our spiritual journeys, foster compassion and understanding within and beyond our community, and engage in service to transform ourselves and our world. If this is your first time here, we are so glad you joined us this morning, and we hope you feel as welcomed as me and my family have. And if you're new today on Zoom, please introduce yourself in the chat. Those online may find information about today's service in the online order of service, which you can find at the link on our website, CUUCWP.org. Please take a moment to look at the list of brief announcements in your order of service, and you can learn more details in our e-communitarian newsletter, which is also posted on our website. And finally, if you haven't yet, please take a moment to silence your phones. Then I invite you to stand in body or spirit for our opening hymn, number 18, This Little Light of Mine, in the gray hymnal. Those of you who is on Zoom, you can find the lyrics in the online order of service. Please welcome our lovely member, Ms. Adine Usher.
We invite those online to light a chalice or candle at home and read along from the order of service linked on our website, CUUCWP.org. Nothing worth doing is complete in our lifetime. Therefore, we are saved by hope. Nothing true or beautiful or good makes complete sense in any immediate context of history. Therefore, we are saved by faith. Nothing we do, however virtuous, can be accomplished alone. Therefore, we are saved by love. No virtuous act is quite as virtuous from the standpoint of our friend or foe as from our own. Therefore, we are saved by the final form of love, which is forgiveness.
The invocation. Come ye into this house of worship. Come in and find peace and rest, inspiration and aspiration, fellowship and love. Come in and find light for your darkness, a friend's touch for your loneliness, and music for your soul. Come in and let your heart sing for all the blessings that are yours this day. Now we're going to have the passing of the peace. Now please greet each other with the words, peace be with you. And those online may enter into their greetings into the Zoom chat.
Referencing prayer star number 511 from the Atharva Veda. Let there be peace in the sky and in the atmosphere. Peace in the plant world, in the forests. Let the cosmic powers be peaceful. Let Brahma be peaceful. Let there be undiluted and fulfilling peace everywhere. Although we live in close contact with neighbors, masses of people in our society feel alienated, cut off, alone. Isolation and loneliness are central causes of depression and despair. Yet, they are the outcome of life in a culture where things matter more than people. Materialism creates a world of narcissism in which the focus of life is solely on acquisition and consumption. A culture of narcissism is not a place where love can flourish. The emergence of the me culture is a direct response to our nation's failure to truly actualize the vision of democracy articulated in our Constitution and Bill of Rights. Left alone in the me culture, we consume and consume with no thought of others. Greed and exploitation become the norm when an ethic of domination prevails. Bell hooks.
This summer, we share our collection plate with Unirondack, the UU Mission Centered Camp and Conference Center in the Adirondacks. The living tradition we share draws from words and deeds of prophetic people, which challenge us to confront power and structures of evil with justice, compassion, and the transforming power of love. The prophets speak truth to power, or show us how we become complicit with oppression, call us to our better selves, and challenge us to confront injustice. We are all called to be prophets, to draw inspiration from the prophets who came before, and to call out injustice. We are called then to grow this place as a prophetic beacon to the world. Thankful for the sacred calling and for the community of one another to make it so, let the offering be given and received.
Before we start singing, lift
stopped singing that one when I discovered that it had been written by a slave owner. James Weldon Johnson, born in 1871, and his brother, James Rosamond Johnson, born in 1873. James Weldon Johnson was a noted poet, lawyer, civil rights activist, president of the Nashville NAACP, called upon by President Teddy Roosevelt to work in the embassies of Venezuela and Nicaragua. And when he was made NAACP leader, he was in charge of investigating lynchings. His brother, a musician, attended New England Conservatory of Music and was a successful composer throughout his life. In the Black community, we usually sing the song rather slowly. You have heard it done rapidly. We're going to slow it down today in honor of the 3 lost souls in Jacksonville, Florida. I ask you to pay close attention to the words, how prescient they are even today. The third verse, we're going to sing all 3 verses. The third verse begins as a dirge and then picks up with hope. She took her great-grandmother's name, Bell Hooks, as a pen name, putting the name in lowercase letters to move the focus to her work and not on her personal qualities. Hooks' work included 40 books, essays, poetry, and film. As a professor at several colleges and universities, Hooks gained acclaim as an American scholar, activist, radical feminist, anti-racist, and postmodern cultural and political thinker who examined connections between race, gender, class, love, art, history, sexuality, mass media, capitalism, patriarchy, and justice. Hooks died in 2021 at age 69 in Kentucky, where she was born. This excerpt is from the book Salvation, Valuing Ourselves Rightly, Self-Love.
All right. These words from Bell Hooks' Salvation make the case that love is essential for healing and sustaining community and for driving social change. Every now and then, I return to poor Black communities I lived in or visited during my childhood. These neighborhoods that were once vibrant, full of life, with flowers planted outside the walls of rundown shacks, folks on the porch, are now barren landscapes. Many of them look like war zones. Returning, I bear witness to desolation. Surrounded by an aura of emptiness, these places, once shrouded in hope, now stand like barren arms, lonely and empty. No one moves into their embrace to touch, to be held, and to hold, to comfort. Poverty has not created this desolation. The generations of folks who inhabited these landscapes have always been poor. What I witness are ravages of the spirit, the debris left after emotional assault and explosion. What I witness is heart-wrenching loss, despair, and a lovelessness so profound it alters the nature of environments, both inside and out. The desolation of these places where love was and is now gone is just one among many signs of the ongoing crisis of spirit that ravages Black people and Black communities everywhere. More often than not, this crisis of spirit is talked about by political leaders and community organizers as engendered by life-threatening poverty, violence, or the ravages of addiction. Well, it is utterly true that all these forces undermine our capacity to be well. Underlying these issues is a profound spiritual crisis. As a people, we are losing heart. Our collective crisis is as much an emotional one as a material one. It cannot be healed simply by money. We know this because so many of the leaders who preach to us about the necessity of gaining material privilege, who are holders of wealth and status, are as lost, as disenabled emotionally as those among us who lack material well-being. Leaders who are addicted to alcohol, shopping, violence, or gaining power and fame by any means necessary rarely offer to anyone a vision of emotional well-being that can heal and restore broken lives and broken communities. To heal our wounded communities, which are diverse and multi-layered, we must return to a love ethic, one that is exemplified by the combined forces of care, respect, knowledge, and responsibility. The Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. was a prophet of love, preaching to the souls of Black folks and our non-white allies in struggles everywhere. His collection of sermons, Strength to Love, was first published in 1963. Later, in 1967, in an address to a group of anti-war clergy, he stated, "When I speak of love, I am not speaking of some sentimental and weak response. I am speaking of that force which all the great religions have seen as the supreme and unifying principle of life. Love is somehow the key that unlocks the door, which leads to ultimate reality." Love is profoundly political. Our deepest revolution will come when we understand this truth. Only love can give us the strength to go forward in the midst of heartbreak and misery. Only love can give us the power to reconcile, to redeem, the power to renew weary spirits and save lost souls. The transformative power of love is the foundation of all meaningful social change. Without love, our lives are without meaning. Love is the heart of the matter. When all else has fallen away, love sustains.
Much as I enjoy popular New Age commentary on love, I am often struck by the dangerous narcissism fostered by spiritual rhetoric that pays so much attention to individual self-improvement and so little to the practice of love within the context of community. Packaged as a commodity, spirituality becomes no different from an exercise program. While it may leave the consumer feeling better about his life or her life, its power to enhance our communion with ourselves and others in a sustained way is inhibited. A commitment to a spiritual life requires us to do more than read a good book or go on a restful retreat. It requires a conscious practice, a willingness to unite the way we think with the way we act. Spiritual life is first and foremost about commitment to a way of thinking and behaving that honors the principles of interbeing and interconnectedness. When I speak of spiritual, I refer to the recognition that that there is a place of mystery in our lives, where forces that are beyond human desire or will alter circumstances and or guide and direct us. I call these forces divine spirit. When we choose to lead a spirit-filled life, we recognize and celebrate the presence of transcendent spirits. Some people call this presence soul, God, the beloved, higher consciousness, or higher power. Still others say that this force is what it is because it cannot be named. To them, it is simply the Spirit moving in us and through us. A commitment to a spiritual life necessarily means we embrace the eternal principle that love is all, everything, our true destiny. Love is all, everything, our true destiny. Despite overwhelming pressure to conform to a culture of lovelessness, we will seek to know love. That seeking in itself is a manifestation of divine spirit. Life-threatening nihilism abounds in contemporary culture, crossing the boundaries of race, class, gender, and nationality. At some point, it affects all our lives. Everyone I know is at times brought low by feelings of depression and despair about the state of the world. Whether it is an ongoing worldwide presence of violence expressed by the persistence of man-made wars, the hunger and starvation, the day-to-day realities of violence, the presence of life-threatening diseases that cause unexpected deaths of our friends, comrades, and loved ones. There is much that brings everyone to the brink of despair. Knowing love, or the hope of knowing love, is the anchor that keeps us from falling into the sea of despair. Spirituality and spiritual life give us the strength to love.
Love should be the foundation of every culture, society, and political system. Let's dive into Bell Hook's captivating book, All About Love, Chapter 7. Read, Simply Love. Many people want love to function like a drug, giving them an immediate and sustained high. They want to do nothing, just passively receive the good feeling. In patriarchal culture, men are especially inclined to see love as something they should receive without spending effort. More often than not, they do not want to do the work that love demands. When the practice of love invites us to enter a place of potential bliss, that is at the same time a place of critical awakening and pain, many of us turn our backs on love. All the widespread emphasis on dysfunctional relationships in our society could easily lead to the assumption that we are a nation committed to ending dysfunction, committed to creating a culture where love can flourish. The truth is, we are a nation that normalizes dysfunction. The more attention focused on dysfunctional bonds, the more the message that families are all a bit messed up becomes commonplace. And the greater the notion becomes that this is just how families are. Like hedonistic consumption, we are encouraged to believe that the excesses of the family are normal, and that it is abnormal to believe that one can have a functional, loving family. This is the outcome of living in a culture where the politics of greed are normalized. The message we get is that everybody wants to have more money to buy more things. So it is not problematic if we lie and cheat a bit to get ahead. Unlike love, desires for material objects can be satisfied instantly if we have the cash or the credit card handy, or even if we are just willing to sign the papers that make it so we can get that we want now and pay more later. Concurrently, when it comes to matters of the heart, we are encouraged to treat partners as though they were objects we can pick up, use, and then discard and dispose of them at will, with the one criteria being whether or not individualistic desires are satisfied. When greedy consumption is the order of the day, dehumanization becomes acceptable. Then, treating people like objects is not only acceptable, but is required behavior. It's the culture of exchange, the tyranny of marketplace values. Those values inform attitudes about love. Cynicism about love leads young adults to believe there is no love to be found and that relationships are needed only to the extent that they satisfy desires. How many times do we hear someone say, well, if that person is not satisfying your needs, you should get rid of them? Relationships are treated like Dixie cups. They are the same. They are disposable. If it does not work, drop it. Throw it away. Get another. Committed bonds, including marriage, cannot last when this is the prevailing logic, and friendships or loving community cannot be valued and sustained. Most of us are unclear about what to do to protect and strengthen caring bonds when our self-centered needs are not being met. Most people wish they could find love where they are, in the lives and relationships they have chosen. But they feel they lack useful strategies for maintaining these bonds. They turn to mass media for answers, increasingly the mass media is the primary vehicle for the promotion and affirmation of greed. There is little information offered about the establishment and maintenance of meaningful relationships. If the will to accumulate is not already present in the television watcher or moviegoer, it will be implanted by images that bombard the psyche with the message that consuming with others, not connection, should be our goal. Nowadays, we go to a movie and must watch commercials first. The relaxed, receptive state of surrender we like to reserve for the pleasure of entering the aesthetic space of a film in a dark theater is now given over to advertising. When our senses and our sensibilities are assaulted against our will, greed is rightly considered a deadly sin because it erodes the moral values that encourage us to care for the common good. Greed violates the spirit of connectedness and community that is natural to human survival. It wipes out individual recognition of the needs and concerns of everyone, replacing this awareness with harmful self-centeredness. Healthy narcissism, the self-acceptance, self-worth that is the cornerstone of self-love, is replaced by a pathological narcissism wherein only the self matters, that justifies any action that enables the satisfying of desires. The will to sacrifice on behalf of another, always present when there is love, is annihilated by greed. No doubt this explains our nation's willingness to deprive poor citizens of government-funded social services, while huge sums of money fuel the ever-growing culture of violent imperialism. The profiteering profits of greed are never content. It is not enough for this country to be consumed by politics of greed. It must become the natural way of life, globally. Generosity and charity militates against the proliferation of greed, whether it takes the form of kindness to one's neighbor, creating a progressive system of job sharing, or supporting state-funded welfare programs. When the politics of greed become a cultural norm, all acts of charity are wrongly seen as suspect and are represented as a gesture of the weak. As a consequence, our nation's citizens become less charitable every day, arrogantly defending self-serving policies which protect the interests of the rich, by claiming that the poor and needy have not worked hard enough. I have been astonished by hearing individuals who inherited wealth in childhood warn against sharing resources because people needing help should work for money in order to appreciate its value. Inherited wealth and/or substantial material resources are rarely talked about in the mass media because those who receive it do not wish to validate the idea that money received that is not a reward for hard work is beneficial. Their acceptance and use of this money to strengthen their economic self-sufficiency exposes the reality that working hard is rarely the means by which enough of us can gain enough access to material resources to become wealthy. One of the ironies of the culture of greed is that the people who profit the most from earnings they have not worked to attain are the most eager to insist that the poor and working classes can only value material resources attained through hard work. Of course, they are merely establishing a belief system that protects their class interests and lessens their accountability to those who are without privilege. Let love be the foundation for our society.
From her book, Salvation, Bell Hooks talks about valuing ourselves rightly, self-love. We live in a society where we are daily confronting negative images of blackness. It takes courage and vigilance to create a context where self-love can emerge. When I recognized that Black folks were collectively losing ground when it came to the practice of self-love, in a collection of essays, Black Looks, Race and Representation, I advocated that we renew anti-racist struggles in ways that would focus on loving Blackness. In an essay entitled Loving Blackness as Political Resistance, I called attention to the reality that to end white supremacy, we must create the conditions not only for Black people to love Blackness, but for everyone else to love Blackness. All Black folks who love Blackness recognize it is not enough for us to be decolonized, that the non-Black folks we work with, who teach our children, and so on, need conscious raisingness that will enable them to see Blackness differently. I concluded this essay by stating, collectively Black people and our allies in struggle are empowered when we practice self-love as a revolutionary intervention that undermines practices of domination. Loving Blackness as political resistance transforms our ways of looking and being, and thus creates the conditions necessary for us to move against the forces of domination and death, and reclaim Black life. Loving Blackness is more important than gaining access to material privilege. We know that many successful Black people have assimilated white supremacist thinking and feel themselves and other Black people to be unworthy, even though they may live and act as though they were the exception to the rule. The issue of loving Blackness goes beyond the question of race. Focus on racist assaults on Black self-esteem have often caused us to ignore the impact of class. Even though we know that masses of Black people are poor, we have often not linked the perpetuation of low self-esteem among non-privileged groups to the way all poor people are looked down on in this society and treated accordingly. When an overwhelming majority of Black people are poor, because racial segregation denied us access to jobs and economic advancement, in our communities, poverty was not a source of shame. Since religion taught us that God loved the poor and the oppressed, we understood that to live simply, whether one had freely chosen that lot or not, was to live in harmony with divine will. In the past, by not attaching negative stigmas to material lack, Black people effectively refused to allow material status to determine substantive value. In our churches, we were constantly taught that being rich was not a virtue, that it was more virtuous to love one's neighbor and to share resources, that greed was a sin. As the church started to become a site for class mobility, as churches evolved from places of worship to corporations, institutions requiring more money, these values were no longer emphasized. Black folk of all classes began to buy into capitalistic consumer thinking, which equated worth with material status and spread the message that you are what you buy. The mass media, which had for the most part ignored poor, showing us mostly the fictional lifestyles of the rich, began to tell everyone that to be poor was to be nothing.
All right, let's show our appreciation for those who contributed to our service today. After the service, we invite those here with us in the fellowship hall to stay for light refreshments and conversation. Adults with children in childcare, we ask that you pick them up first. After the service, please leave your chair in place put your hymnals back on the stand, and remember to put your name tag in the basket in the lobby when you leave today. Those with us online are welcome to stay in this Zoom space after worship and have a virtual coffee hour gathering with one another. Please join with me now in the chalice extinguishing words printed in the order of service. We invite those on Zoom to extinguish your home chalice with us. The prophet's challenge to confront harm, to respond with justice, compassion, and the transforming power of love. This is now our resolve.
Because of those who came before, we are.
In spite of their failings, we believe.
Because of, in spite of the horizons of their vision, we too dream.
Let us go remembering to praise, to live in the moment,
To love mightily.
To bow to the mystery.
Go in peace.
Sing in my heart, all the